Hi, and welcome back to this episode of Uncut Music Interviews. My name's Tim Pendergrass, and this one is from the group America. They were promoting a box set at the time, which was a really kind of good retrospective of all their stuff up to that point and all remastered. This was in January of the year 2000, so quite a long time ago. Both the guys were really, really great. I remember just kind of sitting there BSing with them, and it was just casual. Probably after the camera stopped rolling, we talked another half hour. They were just down-to-earth guys. And one of the very first songs I ever learned on guitar was Sister Golden Hair by them. So obviously I was a kid in a candy store watching these guys. And they were nice enough to sign the back of my box set after we were done. Enjoy.
Tell me a little bit about the box set.
Well, we first caught wind of it from Rhino Records, our good friends at Rhino, who had started the project. They put together a list of songs and so on. They're great at repackaging and doing this, and they do it justice. And they're also, their staff are dedicated music people, and they listen to it also. It wasn't just something thrown together. Then we got involved. It's three CDs, 64 songs, big booklet. We got involved by asking or changing a few songs, pulling one off this record or one off that we thought would be more appropriate, or just because we personally liked them. And then we got involved in the packaging with regard to photos and memorabilia. There's lots of little bits and bobs, backstage passes and art things.
Turned out nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty.
They did a great job in that. The timing is great for us, and obviously they were aware of the timing, but being our 30th anniversary, the box set it couldn't be at a better time. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't have done something for the 30th anniversary, but something as involved as the box set, 64 songs, you can't just create that out of thin air. I mean, we probably would have just printed up a T-shirt or something.
Yeah, right.
So it's nice that this all came together at this time, and we're really grateful for it.
The only thing I would say now in retrospect, it's only been out a couple of weeks now, and we've had a chance to absorb it, and it is very flattering and thrilling, and in a sense, there's this time frame that suddenly now has come to an end, 30 years and 24 albums. But needless to say, there's a lot more. There's some outtake stuff and some demos and a couple of unreleased tracks. But had we probably had another year to dig around, we could find and still make some old choice bits of stuff. But there's enough that they included to give at least our old-time fans a little something, a taste of something different. And those are interesting for us even to listen to. I hadn't heard for 25 years, some of that stuff.
Yeah, I liked hearing the demos too at the end. I was kind of hoping there's a couple more nuggets, like Sister Golden Hair's demo or something. Whatever.
There are a few more demos than were included. If you get into the fan chat rooms, they're always talking about what happened to this tape or that tape and stuff. But what I can say for sure is that we had more stuff. But Rhino was really thinking ahead, and we have on the schedule a plan to release an enhanced version of Hat Trick, which is our third album, which would include some more demos from Hat Trick, and also eventually an enhanced CD version of the first release, which would include more of those demos as well. So although there are some more that exist, it was never the plan to just withhold them. They're just part of a, kind of an ongoing concept.
Could you give me a little history on how the group got together? I think it's kind of a unique story being in England and being all Americans.
Well, we met, Jerry, myself, and our then third partner, Dan Peake. Dan left the band in '77, but the three of us initially met at the U.S. Air Force Base outside London called Ruislip. And we went to high school there, Central High, and finished out those 3 years of high school there and found our common interest in music and shared it, both playing in bands together in various configurations. Jerry actually had the core group, and I joined it for a while, and Dan joined it for a while. And we'd spend a lot of our free time in London going to rock shows and festivals and old clubs, and so we were obviously deeply involved in the music scene, and it was a fertile time, and we felt very excited about all that, and it progressed from there into writing our own music. We graduated from high school in '69 and really were fairly at loose ends, didn't know what we were going to do with ourselves, and the music was the one thing that we'd always loved and made it happen for us.
Was that you were still in England at that time?
We were still in England.
What was
yeah.
the music scene like around late '60s, around London and all that?
Well, it was pretty fertile.
England had a great music scene throughout the 60s. If you're up on your pop history, I mean, obviously the whole British invasion that we got here in the mid-60s took a while to occur. And so all of that was at the start of the 60s, but it never really stopped. It carried on, and if you follow the kind of chronology of a lot of those groups like The Who and stuff, they didn't all just hit at one time. They were dotted throughout the 60s. And it didn't really stop through the end of the 60s, but it took a pretty serious turn at the end there because you started putting things like Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix had come over. So you put that into the mix, and you can see this is now we're not just talking about pop music anymore. It was quite a different scene.
It was really community-minded, too. The artists themselves were intermingled. I'm sure just physically, London and England itself being a small community, small area, everybody seemed to know everybody, and you had a lot of competition, or at least pushing each other's envelopes. You'd see this. Bands were mixing and matching, Blind Faith, you know, the rock and roll circus. This player was playing with that player, and it was a wonderful trade-off. And you had that kind of progressive bunch of musicians, Yes, and Rick Wakeman, and those guys, and King Crimson doing this other thing, while you had the old rock and rollers, and it was always something exciting and very eclectic in a sense. The shows were always the multi-act shows were always a blend of different things, and it was fun to watch.
Oh yeah, that. Can you tell me about your first hit, and you know what? Was that a big surprise to you guys? And...
Well, our first album, which the first big hit was Horse with No Name, of course, was kind of a fluke in a sense. It was we had written the first album with the song called "I Need You" in mind as the centerpiece of the album, and at the end of the sessions, the Warner Brothers asked us if we had any more songs. We went in and recorded 4 other songs, and the Horse with No Name was in that batch. When we recorded it, they liked it. I think it fit the times a bit. It was certainly reminiscent of Neil Young, and we were you know, sort of had to live with that thing, stigma as it were. But I think it was it just hit a poignant word story picture with a simple melody and the kind of la 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 chorus that stuck in your head, and all the elements fit. And we were off and running.
Good. Before I forget, do you guys remember the song "Painted Ladies"?
Yeah, Ian
Ian
Thomas.
Thomas?
Sure.
Yeah.
Remember when that came out? I was like, I thought it was you
Sounds
guys.
like us, yeah, I know.
I'm like, they were ripping you off.
Yeah.
big time.
Do you know who Ian Thomas was?
No.
Ian Thomas, Dave Thomas's brother, Canadian songwriter. Dave Thomas from Second City
yeah.
and stuff, right? We ended up recording an Ian Thomas song called Right Before Your Eyes, which some people thought Rudolph Valentino, but we had a minor hit with an Ian Thomas song. So it goes around, comes around.
Okay, because he's got that same, like you said, the
Yeah.
la
Yeah.
la la and the sing-along.
I don't think I really know Painted Ladies. I might recognize it.
Ooh, feeling fine, mama. Painted ladies on blah, blah,
Oh, that's right,
la,
yeah.
la, 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 la. That part is
Yeah.
like totally off.
That rip-off guy, that
Yeah, well, I
Ian
know.
Thomas guy. Yeah.
Got there. How did working with George Martin come about?
We had co-produced our first album and produced the second and third album, and it was becoming a bigger and bigger chore to wear both hats, basically. So we really felt that for album number 4, best to pull in a good producer, somebody that we would really look forward to working with. And George just seemed at the top of our list, and I think most people approach this as probably too high at the top of the list, you know, untouchable. But the truth was, the short answer is the true answer. We just asked him. We called him up, and he was well aware we'd had quite a great deal of success. We were no secret anymore at that point. And he was looking for something to get a hold of, and, you know, he really was, I think, it wouldn't be too strong to say he was trying to prove that, you know, he could contribute something other than the Beatles' success. As vast and, you know, great as that was, I think he wanted to do something else, and we fit the bill. So it just started what turned out to be 6 or 7 albums of a great time. He's a great man and a good friend still to this day.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Could I lead into a couple of tracks? She gave me a B-roll of, you know, some of the hits. Could you just
Sure.
give me a quick lead into each of those so I could play a little, the biggest one being Sister Golden Hair?
Sister Golden Hair was from the Hearts album, which is the second album we did with George. but it actually was around for quite a while, and I remember having the song before the Holiday album, the previous album. I can't really say why you picked which songs for which albums, but I think that however it occurred, the timing was just right. The success we had with the first George Martin album really set the stage for what happened with Sister Golden Hair, which was actually our second ever #1 record. It was a great success for us, and a culmination of this effort we had put in with George. George finally had another #1 record with a different act, and so it was just good news all around.
Great. How about, we did, Horse and Nine, we kind of covered Ventura Highway.
Ventura Highway, I'd written in England when we were still living we lived together in a little cowman's cottage, it was called, outside of London. And so it was yet another example, lyrically at least, of trying to reminisce a little bit about the States, the desert. Horse with No Name was the desert imagery, and then this was going to be the California coastline imagery, Ventura Highway. Technically, there is no Ventura Highway. There's a Ventura Freeway, Ventura Boulevard, Ventura County, the city of Ventura, but no Ventura Highway. And I think in my mind, I was really considering it Highway 1 or Pacific Coast out here. So it was inspired by that, and I'd lived a short time there for about a year when I was younger, and my dad was stationed out in California. And then I think we didn't record it then again until the second album, of course, when we moved back over here to the States. So it had been knocking around in that first batch of songs to some degree. And then Jerry and Dan came up with a nice harmony acoustic line. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, and that kind of put the finishing touches on it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful lead.
Yeah, it is.
When we were,
Sorry.
you meant to get that?
Yeah, I'm just going to shut it off.
Oh, no problem.
I wasn't going to cave in on whatever it is he wanted, you know. I think I have the wrong number.
Todd and I actually both play acoustic and sing, so that Ventura Highway lead, we still have not been.
Oh, yeah?
mastered.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what it is. I thought about it the other day because I recall now thinking, and the trick to it is, first of all, is that ba-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. But the secret is the ending. Each one of those little licks, if you listen to it, is different. And the reason that they are different is that each one is designed to go right up to the starting point of Dewey's phrase. So on the first line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, chewing on a piece of grass. Chewing on a piece of grass starts after 2. It's on 3, 1, 2, 3. Chewing on a piece of grass, right? So the lick has to go dun 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 dun. Chewing on a piece of grass, right? So each one is shorter, longer.
Yeah.
And we had to kind of figure, okay, we need another 2 notes, 1 note. Anyway.
I was always trying to end up on some open chord, you know.
Yeah.
You try to play both parts.
It's overdubbed.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's overdubbed.
Yeah.
We had one time we did a
Yeah,
gig
you
with
can't play both.
John Denver, rest his soul, and he had a guitarist. We were using his band just for an appearance for the U.S. Olympic team in Salt Lake, and his guitarist could do it on 1 guitar.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. It's true.
Only time I've ever heard it.
He said, I can do that.
Then once you guys hit, or second album, did you all move to LA or based?
Well, actually, we made the second album here in L.A. Once, after the first album was released in England, the Horse with No Name became a hit in England. Warner Brothers over here said, we'll release it here if you'll come over and tour, which of course we gladly did. We did a 6-week tour, ending out here at L.A. at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and the record in that 6-week span from release till the end of the tour was huge. And we went back to England after that, big heroes, and pretty well packed our bags. Jerry and Dan, I think, were on the next plane, and I was a little while later, but we settled out here in California at that point, and then made the second album, which included Ventura Highway.
So for most of the 70s, you were based around this
Yeah.
area? and
Yeah.
stuff?
Oh, yes.
Because that was a fruitful area for LA with all the Eagles and the Jackson Browns
Yeah.
and all that. Which,
Well, we were in that management office. When we moved from England over here, it was because we had been sort of requisitioned by David Geffen and Elliot Roberts at Lookout Management. In other words, we took on, we became clients of theirs, management. And that office included the Eagles and Jackson, and so we were rubbing shoulders with everybody, that whole crew, as well as Crosby, Stills and Nash and Joni and Linda Ronstadt, Joe Walsh came in a little while later,
Yeah.
Dan Fogelberg.
That whole California sound, the name California sound, is really just like the state of California is made up of immigrants. It's hard to find people who are really from California or came from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Same with the California sound of music. None of us, at least in that list, were really from California, or very few.
Yeah.
Don and Glenn from Texas and Detroit, and
Joni
Neil and Joni from
Canada.
Canada, and we came from England, so, you know, it's a bit of a misnomer.
Bit of a misnomer.
What were your influences? Was it the British sound because you guys were all over there? Was it Beatles and that kind of
Beatles and Beach Boys we've always touted as our biggest influences, and that's by virtue of the vocal harmonies, and the song structuring, and the lyrics, and that was what we aspired to do, was produce music on a par with that if possible.
I think both of those examples are great examples for me, obviously same influences, but they started with great impact in my life. The first memories of Beatle music and all the fuss that caused is great. And also, first album I ever bought was Surfin' Safari. But I think they also are great examples of how pop music could evolve. Both of those bands turned themselves into something more than they started to be. Brian Wilson's genius is just legendary, and the level that he brought that up to through Pet Sounds and the Smile Sessions is, you know, that's the stuff legend is made of. And the Beatles the same. There was this competition between the two of them. So I like to bring them up as examples because it wasn't just what happened at the start, but what they made of their careers. You know, they really evolved.
That's great. Now you guys are on tour now supporting Box Set, is that correct?
We're always on tour. Basically, we do 130 to 160 shows a year, whether we've got a box set or not. You know, we're working musicians, but certainly the focus this year is the box, and we're calling it the Highway Tour, and hoping to rekindle some interest in that old stuff.
Yeah, this year, as a result of the box, we've decided to do 10 less shows than we did last year. For some reason.
Do you ever get tired of touring, or?
You get physically tired, I think, you know, emotionally sometimes, but I think we're grateful that we've got the work. We have a good touring band, 3 guys and ourselves, a 5-piece on stage that we've been with since forever, 25 years, most of them. And so it's fun, and you have moments that are wonderful on stage, and those songs, we try and do them justice, and bring the music to new ears sometimes, and to old fans who bring their families, and so it's got a lot of rewards. It can be physically tiring though, especially when you're getting to our ages.
Yeah. But there are those Newark airport moments too, which are sometimes longer than you'd wish.
Travel difficulties being what they are. Nothing to do with America West, of course.
Are there any newer artists or people that you kind of, either did you say, hey, they got that from us, or you respect them, or you think, hey, I might have influenced them? Is there any way
Not enough, actually. There should be. No, we hear it a lot. A lot of people say they learned to play guitar to our first album or something, you know. It was a great acoustic album, and those chords are fairly accessible, although Dewey had some pretty unique tunings. But, you know, I hear it in some songs. I hear, there's a great David Gray song at the moment called Babylon that's a really beautiful track, and finally, he's a great singer-songwriter, but there's a little bit of Ventura Highway in the guitar lick on that.
Great. Here's a kind of an odd question, but have you guys ever went into a karaoke bar and freaked people out and sang one of your songs?
We haven't personally sang, but we have witnessed the karaoke experience. We were in Guam on an air base. We've done a number of shows for the troops over the years, and our guitar tech at the time did a pretty rave version of, what was it, Help? He didn't help. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
anyway.
you mean our own music, don't
Yeah.
you?
I've seen it. In fact,
Sister Goldenhair's on one, and
Sure.
we've seen a couple. I mean, that's,
Andrew Gold actually does a lot of those. He's the guy that makes a lot of those tracks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Friend of ours.
we impose,
Sounds great.
but we impose very serious fines on each other if we're caught outside the norms of our live show performing.
Yeah, jamming in the bar. The bar band jam is a fine.
That just won't do. Yeah, I've been fined several times. Of course, that was in the '70s.
And what do you think is going to be the future? Are you guys just on the
Yeah, I think
albums coming out?
we're always hoping to put new music out there, always writing, and Jerry's got a studio, and I think though that we've kind of leveled out in a place in our career where we're comfortable, and if something new comes along, we're game, but we're happy with the way things are running right now. This box set is a big sigh at the end of 30 years in a sense, so we're going to step back a little from it. But if things work out, we'll have a new album as soon as we possibly can. You know, we're always writing and amassing lyrics and stuff in the can, and see what happens.
Great. Now down to my last question. Where the hell did it go? Oh, are there any funny tour pairings over the years? You guys have been around so long, there must be somewhere where Jimi Hendrix opened.
That's a good one. Like the Jimi Hendrix Monkees thing is the great one. I always thought that was a great combo. We get some kind of odd. We've been on with comedians, and George Carlin and us was kind of an odd coupling.
We had a week last summer where just to show you, and this is not unusual, but in one day we were on a co-bill with Air Supply. Russell and Graham are friends of ours in Air Supply, and that was a fairly sedate sit-down theater. And from there we flew to Cadott, Wisconsin for some kind of headbanger ball where we were on the bill with Def Leppard and Blue Oyster Cult and Journey. And from there, the next day, we went to Jamboree in the Hills with Joe Diffie and Reba McEntire and stuff. That's just in 1 week.
Yeah.
So I tell you, it's like the Discovery Channel.
I remember we did a couple shows with Dr. John and Leon Russell was an odd one too.
Yeah.
We all got over to the show. Leon was opening for us, and it was like, wow.
He looks
Leon
like Cousin
Russell, you know.
He's got that
Yeah.
thing. He drives around in a little golf cart backstage. He's got a little...
Last week we played with BTO, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and the Jefferson Starship, the version with Paul Kantner and Marty Ballin, the original Airplane guys, which was kind of fun too.
You don't get to tell what the billing is.
The next night we played with Starship, with Mickey Thomas, yeah.
With the Doobie
back
Brothers.
to back, yeah.
That night was the Doobies. Yeah, it was Mickey Thomas's Starship, us, and the Doobies. So that was a little more traditional because everybody was singing and stuff. But the Jefferson Starship with Marty Ballin and Kantner is quite interesting.
And I love Marty Ballin. All his ballads during the 70s.
Yeah, they were beautiful ones that he did with the Starship. Actually, his Airplane ballads were good too, from Surrealistic Pillow, and those earlier albums were great.
What's Miracles? Is that a starship or airplane?
That's Starship. That's Red Octopus, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
We were going
Lost
through this
track,
the other
yeah.
night. There was Dragonfly, and there was Red Octopus, those
Volunteers.
albums. Yeah, Volunteers though was Jefferson Airplane.
Oh, it was?
See, you're getting all
Yeah, because this was billed as the Jefferson Starship, but the Volunteers. Remember the
Yeah,
long
I
name?
know.
Right, so wait a minute, Volunteers is airplane.
They were doing Somebody
get
to
it
Love
right.
and all that. Yeah, it was.
Get it right, come
Must be
on.
some legal thing.
We had
Yeah.
Use the name.
Yeah.
Then one last thing I'd like to, if you guys wouldn't mind doing an intro to hi, introduce yourself for America, enjoy your flight.
Enjoy your flight.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jerry Beckley.
And I'm Dewey Bunnell. We're the group America.
Enjoy your flight.
And then the same thing for the Princess Cruise is something about,
Have a great cruise. All right. Don't eat the snails. Yeah, well, I got
Okay.
sick once on a cruise. And dysentery. Sushi.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, scrape those barnacles.
Hi, I'm Jerry Beckley.
And I'm Dewey Bunnell, and we're the group America.
Have a great cruise.
thank you. I thought one last one.
Okay.
Is there one high point in your career that you can just point out, if it all ended today, you'd say, we won the Grammy or meeting George Martin, is there one thing that you guys look back and say, wow?
Well, one of the greatest shows we ever did was we played with the Beach Boys at the mall in Washington, D.C. And that was a series of shows that they had been doing, and then for a while they were stopped from doing it because the Interior Minister, James Watt, said that it was the wrong kind of element. And then, of course, they had to eat their words, and they invited him back. That next year was the biggest of all of those events. There were as many as 800,000 people. Some counts had it. And Mike and Carl and the guys asked if we would be on that show. And we had already, it was July 4th, of course, and we had already accepted a gig that day for Casper, Wyoming. But we worked out that if we got on stage early enough in D.C. and we had a private jet, we could make it to the Casper, Wyoming show. So we woke up, played for 800,000 people in D.C., got in a plane, flew to Casper, played for maybe 25,000 people that night. Got back in the plane, and I was home in bed with my wife before midnight that night, and she asked me, how was my day?
Uh-oh.
It was a great day.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Cool. Are you-
Yeah, I'll go, well, it's very hard to, I mean, a single moment is very difficult to pin down. We've had some wonderful tours around the world and been to some fantastic places, so the travel aspect, if I was to lump it all into one thing, would be the single high point of our career, because we've taken this music all over the world and met lots of people and seen wonderful places. We've been on the Great Wall of China and you name it, we've been there. Cuba, South America, Italy. It's been a terrific ride that way.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. In fact, we had a bio once that said they've played from